Hi guys, welcome back. So by now, hopefully all of you guys have tallied up all of the behaviors on your data collection sheet, ready for us to input that into an Excel file. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to do that now. What I'm going to do is I'm going to split my screen so that I've got my data collection sheet on one side and I've got Excel on the other. Okay. Now, one thing just to remember when we're working with Excel or when we're working with any sort of raw data sheets is what our columns and our rows represent. Okay, so here we have columns and here we have rows. Okay, so when we're working with data sheets, we always want our columns to represent our variables. Okay, so the things that we're interested in. Okay, and our rows then represent individual data points. Okay. Hopefully that'll become a little bit clearer in a minute. So I'm just going to start with a few variables that we're interested to input. Okay. So the first thing that we would always want to include is the date that we collected the data on. We might also be interested to collect the time that the data was collected at. And we, of course, in this case, are also interested in the behaviors themselves. Okay, so we're just going to start with three variables. Okay, if I double click on this little bit here, that'll open that up for me. Okay, so we're just going to start with these three variables. So the date that we've got here is the 22nd of the 10th, 18. Okay, the time, I'm just going to include it here as start time because we know in this case that we're always collecting 30 minutes. Okay, and then I'm just going to put my first behavior that I'm interested in, which is coded here as S. Okay. And then I want to include then another column, and I want this to be called count. Okay. So now I look at the tally that I've got for this behavior on my data collection sheet, and I've got a count of 3. So I put a 3 in there. Okay, so now I've got my first data point in there. Okay, so I've got a count of my first behavior that I've measured. Okay, now I basically want to do that for all of the behaviors that I've measured during my data collection. Okay, so in this case, I've got, let's just count these up. I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 11. Okay, so I've got 11 behaviors that I'm interested in. So what I can basically do is just copy this date and just paste it 11 times below. Okay, and I can do the same for my time as well. Okay, so once I've done that, I can then, for each row, just input all of the different behaviors that I measured. Okay, so we've already got S in there. Okay, so the next one would be T. And we had a tally of T, 21. Next one would be F. That tally was 34. And the next one would be V. And that tally was 13. Next one would be G. And got a grand total of 0 there. Next one's AG. Again, grand total of 0. Next one's SB. Here we've got 37. Next one, DIG. 22. H. 0. P. Also 0. And then finally, we have GU, and now we have 20. Okay, so that is how we want to organize our data in Excel. Okay, now the reason for organizing it this way rather than horizontally like we've got in our data collection sheet is because when we organize stuff vertically like this, we can actually filter and just filter out the specific behaviors that we're interested in. Okay, and I'll explain that a little bit later. But basically here we have our raw data. Okay, and in the next video, what I'm going to then do is explain how to make that data into proportions that we can then actually analyze.